But we have to get elected. We have to take this beautiful place and we have to make it really something very special again. Right now, it's not special. Right now, it's being scorned.
Just a show of hands for anyone in the room who hung out with a felon today.
That was a word salad coming from Donald Trump during a speech that was his return to Capitol Hill, his first time coming back to Capitol Hill since his attempted insurrection on January 6th of 2021, where he told his supporters to fight like hell, and then minutes later they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence" outside of the Capitol building. But Trump gave a brief and completely incoherent speech as usual. Here's the rest of this clip.
And being used as an example of when they look at the crime on the streets, when they look at all of the problems that we have, they're using us as a bad example of democracy. And they're getting away with murder, and we're not going to let it happen. So I just want to thank you for coming, and I want to thank everybody here. You're all either elected or you're going to be elected again and reelected, and I'm with everyone.
So Donald Trump was saying that other countries look at the USA as a bad example of democracy because of democratic leadership. Meanwhile, he's surrounded by the same GOP politicians who have been refusing to say whether or not they'll accept the results of the 2024 election. The same officials who ran defense for Donald Trump when he undermined the last election. He made up election fraud. He called election officials around the country and tried to flip the results. Donald Trump was surrounded by the worst of the worst people. You see J.D. Vance. You see people like Ted Cruz, like Lindsey Graham. Watch this clip of Trump on Capitol Hill.
Some comments there from Donald Trump a few minutes after he had a thoughtful meeting with the senators there, the GOP senators, a rousing applause on his way in, and now as he exits his way out, talking about the borders. You see Senator Ted Cruz there, obviously his state of Texas directly involved in what's going on, and Texas being sued by the DOJ.
To this day, I still don't think Donald Trump has apologized to Mike Pence for putting his life in danger on January 6th. We know for a fact he did not call Mike Pence that day or for the months after, and I don't think that they have talked since. So the fact that Donald Trump is back on Capitol Hill and forcing politicians to kiss the ring and kiss his cheek and hug him is just sickening, and all of these Republicans are spineless. And that's the exact point that Adam Schiff made on the House floor about an hour before Donald Trump's speech, where he quoted the Manhattan jury that convicted Donald Trump by saying guilty 34 times and then explaining why Republicans are an immoral party. Watch this clip and like the video if you like Adam Schiff.
I want to begin by quoting the jury in the Manhattan hush money payment trial. Guilty, 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 guilty. This was what the jury pronounced unanimously on every count. My Republican colleagues don't really contest Donald Trump's guilt. This is the fascinating thing. Their argument is essentially he should never have been prosecuted, or they falsely claim it was a political prosecution, or they falsely claim it should have been a misdemeanor, not a felony. But they don't contest, not really, that Donald Trump was making hush money payments to a porn star to hide their affair from voters. What they're really saying is they're more than comfortable nominating and electing as the President of the United States someone making hush money payments to a porn star. The party formerly of the moral majority is now, I suppose, hoping to fashion some kind of immoral majority to reinstate Donald Trump as president.
Adam Schiff always kills it. Eric Swalwell then took a jab at Republicans for hanging out with a convicted felon. Watch this clip.
Just a show of hands for anyone in the room who hung out with a felon today. Hey guys, probably want to get your hands up if you were hanging out with convicted felon Donald Trump. I don't think anyone on our side did, but that's why we're here.
I love it when Democrats are fierce like that. Eric Swalwell then points out that Republicans always try to point out judicial bias with Democrats, but Donald Trump appointed Judge Eileen Cannon, who has been delaying Donald Trump's case, and he appointed all of the Supreme Court justices who also have been delaying Donald Trump's case. So if there is any judicial bias going on in the United States, it's in favor of Donald Trump, who has repeatedly skirted the law for years and gotten away with it. And then the one time in his entire life he's held accountable, Republicans are melting down. But watch this clip of Eric Swalwell killing it on the House floor.
I want to talk a little bit about judicial bias, because they've suggested that there's a bias that occurred in this case. Ambassador Eisen, in Donald Trump's other case, where he's alleged to have stolen national security secrets, who appointed the judge to the bench in the Southern Florida federal case?
Unlike the special counsel in the Hunter Biden prosecution, who is a Trump holdover, David Weiss, that was a last minute, referring back to our history, midnight appointment, you can call it, by Donald Trump of Judge Eileen Cannon.
Are you kidding me? Donald Trump is complaining about bias in his case, and he's on trial for stealing national security documents with a judge that he appointed? Well, that's interesting. I didn't hear any of you all talking about that. Well, let's talk about the Supreme Court, who's deciding whether he has absolute immunity and can send the Navy SEALs to kill any of his opponents, as he alleges in his arguments that he can do. One judge is flying an insurrection flag in solidarity with the insurrection on January 6th that tried to overturn Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 election. Another judge's wife was at the president's speech on January 6th, right before the insurrection occurred. But
Chip Roy then asks an incredibly loaded question about NDAs, but Ambassador Eisen cuts through the BS and fact checks him on the spot.
Are NDAs illegal?
When an NDA is used to facilitate an illegal campaign contribution, over $127,000 in excess of the legal limits, yes, it is a means. It is an unlawful means.
And that is exactly what Donald Trump did. That question kind of backfired on Chip Roy. Republicans don't know how to govern. They can't hold a competent hearing on anything, but we already know that. We've seen that demonstrated repeatedly. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, comment a blue heart, hit that subscribe button, and have a great day.